The manufacturing recession is in your head.
The Trump manufacturing recession.
It never happened.
The Trump manufacturing. Oh, yeah, okay, look it up on PolitiFact. Look up the fact check. And,
let's do that.
And then tell me, maybe you can bring it on screen right now. Because there was a
Michigan
Trump manufacturing recession.
Mr. Mayor, Michigan matters a lot.
Look it up.
That's why you're there, right? How much did the
EV I live here, but yeah.
How much did the EV mandate hurt the Kamala Harris quest to be the next president?
Well, first of all, the statement that there is an EV mandate is a lie. You can buy a gas car right now if you want one. You can buy an EV car if you want one, and we'll help make it cheaper, as long as you want. Now, our goal with the tax supports, and by the way, you admit, right, that you can buy a gas car if you want right now, which means by definition there's no mandate.
But if he has a goal by 2035, California's gone. By 2035, New York's gone.
Seeing one of the dumbest hosts at Fox News try desperately to gotcha Secretary Pete Buttigieg is just embarrassing. But Kilmeade's not the only person Pete Buttigieg is calling out.
Good afternoon, Secretary. It's great to see you. The Biden administration is on a mission to force consumers to buy electric vehicles that they clearly don't want.
No, we're not.
Of the 282 million. Well, let me tell you, Mr. Secretary, you are, because the Biden administration is spending billions in subsidies to force consumers to make these decisions. 282 million vehicles are on the roads today. 1% are electric, and they're only buying them because we are bribing consumers with $7,500 to purchase that vehicle. They sit on the lots far longer on the dealership lots than their traditional counterparts. And now knowing that these cars are built with slave labor, is there a time that you will say, you know what, this is just too expensive. This is just too expensive. We want to rethink this policy. Is there ever a time that you're going to say that it's too expensive?
If you think this is expensive, wait till you find out how much oil and gas subsidies you've been supporting. Also, wait till you find out the economic impact that some economists have put at $15 million every hour or every day. Trillions of dollars every year from allowing the environmental conditions in this country and the planet to worsen. We are making sure that there is support for a homegrown.
Consumers are saying this. They're saying 46%. McKinsey and Company, a consumer survey company, did a survey of consumers. 46% that bought these electric vehicles.
Having worked at McKinsey, I got to tell you, it's not specialist.
They don't want them, Mr. Secretary. Are you aware of that? Are you aware of it?
Yeah, with all due respect to my former colleagues at McKinsey, their study's an outlier, and even that one does not show that a majority of the people.
Let's talk about it because a third of them.
Why do you think more Americans buy EVs every year than the year before?
I got a good question for you.
Okay.
And I want you to hear me because 40 of those the percentage, a third said they can't charge their vehicle. We gave you some money, billions of dollars to build some charging stations.
Yeah, and that's going out to the states to build the chargers. How's it coming along? Great. We're going to beat our goals of 500,000 chargers by 2030. And the reason why is because most of the states now have their money and they're getting ready to do the procurement.
What's the tally right now, though? I'm keeping, last month it was 7 charging stations.
186,000 public charging stations are available. The publicly supported chargers will go in.
How many have we built? How many have you built?
Those are coming later. That was always the plan.
Is it over 7? Is it over 7?
They're coming later.
So it's not over 7. I'm going to put you down at not over 7 right now.
2027, 2028 is when they're supposed to be built. But here's the other thing. Are you conscious that 80% of EV charging happens at home? I got 3 more questions. Got
to go fast, Mr. Secretary. How are we going to fund roads if electric vehicles aren't paying into the gas tax to build roads? We know they're heavier. They do more damage than roads. What's the plan? Do we have a plan? How are we going to build those roads?
Yeah, we're working with Congress on how to make sure the Highway Trust Fund has adequate sources of revenue, knowing that receipts from the gas tax have been declining for some time. I don't think that's an excuse to stick with the dirty and expensive fuels of the past.
Let me put you down. I got to put you down. No plan yet. Let me put that down.
Well, actually, you should put down something else on your little paper there, which is we are funding pilots to do vehicle miles traveled. So did you put that down?
When we build roads,
would you be so kind as to put that down on my behalf?
Clearly, Mr. Secretary, this isn't working. So I'm wondering, is there some point, and if you've identified some point where you will stop, where the administration will stop, where the federal government will stop this requirement and let the market decide as opposed to this central planning model and this dictatorial policy?
Well, thank you. Given time is limited, I will confine myself to addressing the factually incorrect portions of what you have said, beginning with the assertion that EV sales are going down. They are, in fact, going up.
Does that include the government sales or private sales?
Every single year,
private sales
more
or government
Americans
sales,
have purchased
Mr. Secretary?
EVs. The entire market.
The
overall.
government's forced to buy them, so sales are going up. But private sector,
There are private
is
sales
not.
too. Yeah.
I'd like those numbers.
Sure. 1.2 million EVs were sold in the U.S. in 2020.
How many government and how many private?
We'll get you that breakout, but as you know, more private citizens buy EVs than government purchases.
No, I don't
Let
know
me
that. I don't think
address
that's
the second
factually true.
factual mistake in your
Okay.
remarks, which was that EV costs are getting higher. They're in fact getting lower, and according to J.D. Power, have now reached parity or are slightly lower than
With
the
or without
equivalent
subsidy,
gas-powered
Mr.
car.
Secretary? With or
that
without
does, yeah, that does include the subsidy. That's right. But the point is, they are going lower. each
But they're
passing
not,
year.
'cause we're all
Your
buying them.
statement that they are
We're all
going
paying
up is
for them.
incorrect. The third incorrect assertion you made is that sales dropped in Q1. They did not drop compared to Q1 of the previous year. Of course, if you compare them to Q4, they drop because they always do, because car sales are seasonal. But I would imagine most people are aware of that. And
No, I'm
fourth,
talking about
I want to
particular
address the
EV, Q4 to Q1. EV, not just overall car sales.
Any car sales go down Q1 to Q4 because more people buy cars in Q4. But what I'm telling you is every single year, more Americans buy EVs than the year before. And the word tailspin is just a bizarre word to use for a growing sector of our economy. We also think that since that's the way that the market is headed, we should not allow China to build on the advantage that they developed during the Trump administration, not because they're environmentalists, but because they understand the economic power of trying to dominate the EV market. We want those EVs to be made in America, and increasingly they are.
I'm happy to have them made in America, Mr. Secretary. What I'm not happy about is the mandate. The American people should be able to buy
That brings me to the
any
fourth and
vehicle
final
that
thing
they
that
want
I need to
yield.
challenge as being factually inaccurate, which there is no mandate. You can purchase a gas car if you want to pay gas prices at the pump, but if you don't, you can purchase an EV with our help.
So many politicians, mainly Republicans, but also some Democrats, are entirely in the pockets of big oil. And it's in hearings like this when it becomes obvious that their arguments are not being made in anything like good faith.
I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about carbon emissions, carbon reductions. I know that's something that you care about. And can you tell us what percentage of the world's carbon emissions does the U.S. produce?
I think it's less than a fifth, depending how you count it, of which the single biggest economic sector is transportation.
Right, so the government data says 13.49, 13.5% is from the U.S. And like you said, the biggest sector is transportation. What's the percentage of that?
I don't have that off the top of my head.
29%. So if we take 29% of 13.5%, that gets us down to between 3 and 4% of global emissions come from U.S. transportation. What percentage of that is passenger cars and light-duty vehicles?
So I know it's one of the single largest categories. I don't have a
About
percentage breakout for you.
57% of that. So if we take 57% of that second number, we're down around 2%. So if every internal combustion engine vehicle in the United States was magically converted to an EV overnight, what would that say the potential to reduce global greenhouse gas emissions would be?
By that logic, Congressman, none of us should ever vote. We are all doing our part to do something about a global change, and I believe America should lead the world.
I disagree with you on that. We should vote smartly. We should put smart policy in place. And last count, we tried to find the number over 120 some odd billion taxpayer dollars have been put in subsidies for EVs. Now, that's if all the fuel going into these EVs came from non-carbon emitting sources. Do you know how much electricity in the United States comes from non-carbon emitting sources?
Even if all of that electricity came from fossil sources, it would still be cleaner because EV engines are more efficient.
I think you need to go back and look at physics a little bit.
Okay, the
because-
physics, Congressman, are that an EV engine is 90% efficient, where even the best ICE engines are lucky to get to
But
40%.
the plant that made the energy is not 90% efficient, and internal combustion engines are 25 to 30% efficient, but you've got the efficiency of the generating plant plus the losses in transmission, and don't try to make the efficiency argument. The bottom line is,
Well, I'm definitely going to try to make the efficiency argument because I think it's important.
we'll use good data if you're going to do that.
Sure. Well, the good data is that between the regenerative braking and the 77%
You're talking about once the
energy's in the 90%.
Once the energy's in the EV. The bottom line is only 40% of energy in the United States comes from non-carbon emitting sources. So that 2%, if you could make every vehicle in the United States an EV overnight, you would be less than 0.9% of world's global greenhouse gas emissions. We're creating great turmoil and change in our country with taxpayer dollars that are being spent inefficiently. I'm all for EVs, but let the technology catch up and don't try to ban internal combustion engines at the rate that you're doing. I'm out of time and yield back.
Given the current rate of fires that occur, and these fires, as reports indicate, take hundreds of thousands of liters of water to extinguish when an electric vehicle catches fire. Do you have any research that indicates how many people might die from some of these fires?
I haven't seen a projection of that. I'm sure you're aware that flammable liquids are also a safety concern, and either way, we work to make sure that they are handled in a safe fashion.
We're not seeing the reports of vehicles, like an epidemic of regular gasoline vehicles catching fire.
You're not?
Across the United States.
You've never heard of gasoline
Does
fires
it take
in vehicles?
150,000 liters of water to put out?
Are you familiar with what happened to the I-95 bridge? Let me assure you that the use of flammable liquids to propel hundreds of millions of vehicles includes hazards. Let me also make you aware that the American Chemical Society estimates that 9,700 Americans a year die from the pollution associated with passenger vehicle use in this country.
A 2023 study by Pew Research says that 2/3 of U.S. adults say the country should prioritize developing renewable energy sources such as wind and solar over expanding the production of oil, coal, and natural gas, according to a survey conducted in June 2023, which is great news. It means that the American people get it and they see what we need to do, not only to help ward off climate change, but to produce the sort of power grid that we deserve as a country. Unfortunately, with Donald Trump going back to the White House, to the extent that he is capable, he is going to try to stop that transition from happening. He has, for seemingly decades, despised clean energy for reasons that are not clear. He believes and parrots wild conspiracy theories about wind energy and solar energy that we should definitely be better than, as we should be better than so many things that we apparently as a country are not. But that does not mean that there is no cause for hope in this area. And not just because people seem to understand that modernizing our energy grid and switching over to clean and renewable energy is a good thing. Market forces have been pushing towards more clean and renewable energy for some time. There are economic reasons for this transition to happen, and it is likely to continue, but it will not be subsidized or spurred on by Donald Trump. Instead, because of the corrupt sort of meetings that we saw where he promised in exchange for bribes deregulation of oil and gas, he is going to throw more of your tax dollars at them, and to the extent that he can throw up regulations and laws to try to stop the growth of renewable and clean energy, we are likely to see more of that. Now, I think that is a losing battle. He is going to slow the transition. He is going to make it more costly. I do still think in the end it is likely to happen, and it is in no small part thanks to the fact that people do seem to get it.
Members make a difference here at TYT. You help make the show happen, and we see you in the chat with your loyalty badge. Click the join button to become a member today.